13 years later, the second crucial flip. Houston won the toss and became the new home of Ralph Sampson. Sampson stepped in, a year's learning process, and on the way, the Rookie of the Year award as Houston made its turn.
With your head. Hello? Yeah, hold on. Head, it is.
The odds are infinitesimal. The Rockets did it again, won the flip, another franchise flip, and they will pair Ralph Sampson with Hakeem, the Dream Olajuwon. We're in New York City for the NBA draft, and in just a few moments, the Twin Towers will be moved to Houston. Today, live from the Felt Forum in New York City, the USA Network presents the 1984 NBA College Draft. This sports special is being brought to you by Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. Representatives of the 23 NBA teams are assembled at the Felt Forum in Madison Square Garden, with hookups all around the country to their team headquarters. Today is a day of hope. Hope for the future as the 1984 crop of college basketball players are ready to be harvested. The course of many lives, basketball business successes, and fans' devotions will be determined today. Hi, everybody. I'm Al Albert, and for the next 3 hours, the USA Cable Network wishes you to join us for the 1984 NBA Draft. We will be taking you through the crucial first 2 rounds of the draft, pick by pick, and then even some more. Last season, the big story was Ralph Sampson. This year, incredibly, the Houston Rockets have the #1 pick again and will pair Hakeem Olajuwon with Ralph Sampson. Last year it was Sampson and the rest of the draft. This year, there are 6 bona fide superstars that will be going. Also after that, there's a group of perhaps 3 or 4 players that are also ticketed for stardom. And the accent this year is on size. The projection, 4 centers will be going in the first round. And on the list of power forwards, there are at least 12 players that could go in the first round. There is no question the success of the Boston Celtics in the championship series has had a heavy influence on the draft this year. And we are very happy to have with us again to help analyze the draft the head coach at St. John's University, one of the most well-respected coaches in basketball, Lou Conasec. And Lou, you've been on both sides. As the head coach of the New York Nets, you have been drafting college players, and with St. John's, you have seen players moving into the pros on draft day. What is going on right now in all the minds?
It's like the excitement in this room here. From 2 points of view, management is quite concerned, have we made the right choice? Is he going to work out for us? Is he going to be able to fit in? And from the player's point of view now, where am I going to be drafted? In what position? And in what town? Do I have to pull up stakes and go and leave my home? So there's many, many points that have to be looked at. But all in all, it's a great day for basketball.
Many of the top picks are here right now. They are anxiously awaiting to see exactly where their future lies. And when they find out, they will be sharing their initial thoughts with Eddie Doucette.
Okay, Al Albert, thank you very much, and that's exactly right. For basketball aficionados, this is what you would have to consider a smorgasbord, the creme de la creme. We'll have them here, and what we don't have here, for those of you who might be concerned that some of those fellas are away working out for the U.S. Olympic team, we'll go to Bloomington, Indiana, and to the site of the Olympic Training Center, and have an opportunity to talk firsthand with the likes of Perkins and Jordan, Alvin Robertson, Tim McCormick, Eric Turner, Leon Wood, Vern Vern Fleming and Lancaster Gordon. So we have covered all points here today, and we think we'll get a pretty good idea about how these fellas will feel about going to the teams that will choose them on this draft day 1984. Right now, we're going to send it to a fellow who I've had the pleasure of working with these last few years on USA, and he'll get some insight from some of the folks here in the crowd at the Felt Forum. That's my old buddy from the Northwest, Steve Jones. Steve?
Well, thank you, Eddie. Of course, we'll be out here not only to get some insight, but we'll take a look at just how brightly the future is going to burn for some of these franchises when they make these selections. We'll try to give you some updates as we're down here in the pit to check the phones to make sure that there are no last-minute changes, and also to take a look and analyze whether teams have had their needs met. Back to you, Al.
And we are moments away from the NBA doors to swing open to its future stars. We'll be back with the commissioner's address to open things up, and then Hakeem will get his dream. Louis, we have to move a little closer together.
Okay. Okay.
I know it's tough for you to sit this close to me.
Let me be talking about us. Okay, how's that? Good.
Oh, you know what I have to get? In the Atlanta trade, what were the draft picks? I think it was a second round in 85. You know what you can do? Maybe get me some Gatorade. 1985
some
and
Gatorade,
86.
I can put it right. Some Gatorade.
Receive, okay?
What draft picks?
Maybe some soda. Maybe 7-Up or soda. 7-Up, yeah. We'll put
Yesterday's trade, who didn't receive? Oh, it's next year's trade.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just want to make sure. That's the order of choices for the first round. The Philadelphia 76ers will have 3 picks. Portland, Dallas, and San Diego will each have 2 picks, and then there will be 4 teams that will be just watching the first round. The Knicks, Denver, Seattle, and Golden State, they have no picks in the first round. Over the last 3 years, 66 of the 69 first-round picks are still playing in the NBA. And right now, we are just about ready to go as we go to the podium and introduce Commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, with the opening address.
Welcome to the 1984 NBA College Draft. A special welcome to our fans here in the Felt Forum. And those across the country attending similar gatherings in many of our league cities, and to the viewers coast to coast on the USA Cable Network. As an added attraction today, we're going to have a special feed from Bloomington, Indiana, where our Olympic team is training to meet in a series of exhibition games with NBA All-Stars. And you will be able to hear from those Olympians who are drafted today. And I know that everyone here and across the country joins me in wishing Coach Knight and the Olympic team the best in the upcoming Olympics. Before we begin, let me say a word about the rules and procedures governing the draft. The only players who may be selected in this college draft are those who are eligible under the NBA bylaws. In particular, please note that any player with remaining intercollegiate basketball eligibility cannot be selected in this draft unless he was among those players who renounced his intercollegiate eligibility prior to 45 days ago. Upon request, Marty Blake, who is here with us, will provide to any team his best information with respect to the eligibility of any player that team proposes to select. However, if the draft eligibility of a player is contested by another club, the league office will then conduct a full investigation into the matter immediately following the draft. If it should later be determined that the player was in fact ineligible, the club selecting him will have forfeited the pick used for that purpose. Now, before opening the draft officially, let me advise you that each team selecting during the first round has a maximum of 5 minutes to make its choice known. In the second through fifth rounds, each team will have 2 minutes in which to make its selection. For the remaining rounds, 6 through 10, only 1 minute per selection will be permitted. The first selection will be made by Houston.
Well, the Houston Rockets, the #1 pick for the second straight season. It is considered that once in 15 years a team can draft a center. Once in 25 years a team could draft a superstar center. And the Rockets' timing has been impeccable. Last year, #1 with Ralph Sampson coming out. This year, Hakeem Olajuwon decided to come out early, and that's just in time for Houston.
The postman did ring twice.
Did not take much time.
The Houston Rockets, who are represented here by owner Charlie Thomas and his daughter Tracy, select Hakeem Olajuwon of the University of Houston.
It is official. The well-attired Hakeem Olajuwon, who started playing basketball just 5 years ago from Nigeria, is now the #1 pick. He does not have to go too far. From the University of Houston, will now be playing incredibly alongside of Ralph Sampson for the Houston Rockets.
Stand up here.
Hakeem, whose family owns a cement business in Nigeria, and Hakeem is certainly laying the foundation here in the United States. Hakeem the Dream, one of the 10 undergraduates coming out this season. And the amazing thing about him, Louis, is the fact that he just started playing basketball 5 years ago.
Thank God he only started 5 years ago. He'd be unbelievable.
Awesome raw talent. Hakeem, who runs the floor extremely well, works under the boards, an incredible shot blocker, and certainly has a nose for the basket.
That was a beautiful turnaround move with one dribble up and jammed it. Look at this little turnaround jumper right up and in. Has tremendous control of his shots.
The All-American, Southwest Conference Player of the Year last season, who averaged 17 points a game and just under 14 rebounds per. Hakeem Olajuwon, the #1 pick in the 1984 NBA Draft.
And here he is. Here's the man, the #1 choice of the NBA Draft, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. This is a big day for you, young man.
Oh, yes. I'm just very happy. I think this is the best thing can ever happen to me.
Hakeem was just telling me that he and his mom and dad have just flown here the last couple of days from Nigeria. So you got the whole family in on this one.
Oh, yes. I just want them to see what's going on in the United States.
Well, this has become, Houston that is, has become kind of a second home for you. I mean, you must feel comfortable knowing that you're going back to a place where people know you and you've got a lot of friends.
I think I'm just very lucky to stay in Houston. That's the best thing can ever happen to me.
Hakeem, tell me a little bit about some of the experiences you've had in playing against NBA players. I know in the past, during the summers, you've had a chance to go head-to-head with Moses Malone. Quite an experience.
Oh, yes. Moses Malone is a very big player, and he's very physical. I think I'm not to be competing with all these players.
I think that perhaps you're a pretty big guy yourself, and maybe you can be able to dish out a little of the same.
Oh, yes. I may just keep trying.
Well, how about a Moses Malone? Has he taken you under his wing a little bit and tried to show you some of the ins and outs of the game?
He's just trying to tell me what's going on in the NBA and how to come up. I think he's a very good friend of mine.
All right, good friend until the season starts, and then it becomes a different ball game. Now, Ralph Sampson, he's already in place in Houston, and they tell me that Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon were going to give it a go and try and play together on the same team. How do you envision that?
I think that's going to be a good combination to play with Ralph. He's a very good player, and I like to play with him.
Have you had a chance to work out with him or see any of his skills?
Not yet.
You're going to get together with him as soon as you get back in Houston, I'm imagining.
Oh, yes, I can't wait.
All right, Hakeem, if you had to define your particular role in the NBA with the Houston Ball Club, would you say they're going to try and get you in low and maybe get Ralph out on the wing, or maybe pop you up a little high and let you take some of those 14, 15 footers? What would you like to do?
I think I like to play in the paint. They can play double low post.
He didn't take him long to learn that phrase, did it? Playing in the paint, Hakeem the Dream, #1 draft choice of the Houston Rockets. Let's go to Steve Jones right now, has this reaction. Steve?
We're here with Ray Patterson, general manager of the Houston Rockets, and certainly you like those last words that Hakeem said. He likes to play in the paint, so maybe that gives a great deal of credence to the thought that the Houston Rockets can indeed play both of those players.
There isn't any question both of them can play together, and I'd like to add that Rodney McRae is going to be a great catalyst in that front line. I think all three of them can play well together.
Well, now it's been said that in the West, teams have really got themselves together to beat the Los Angeles Lakers, and with what you have done, perhaps it will be the Houston Rockets. You have the same sentiment.
Well, time will tell, of course, but we're off to a good start, Steve.
All right, now, one last question. Is there anything that can pry one of those players away from you, Sampson or Hakeem, before the 80-45 season gets underway?
Well, let me ask you, can you think of anything that could pry him away?
Well, a couple of farms, probably. All right. Okay. All right, let's go back to Al Albert.
All right, Steve and Lou Carnesecca, can it work?
Oh, I think it will work, because it's both a luxury and a commodity, because you always have to be concerned about injuries. You have to be concerned about when you play a long season, people getting tired. And don't forget, for about 15, 20 minutes, those two players can cause havoc on the opposing teams. It may prove to be a defensive problem, but I'd love to have that defensive problem.
All right, we'll be talking more about that as these 3 hours continue. Now the second choice, owned by the Portland Trail Blazers. Let's go to the commissioner, David Stern.
Portland selects Sam Bowie, University of Kentucky.
Sam Bowie, the young man who came back from a stress fracture injury, the left shin bone. He was out for 2 seasons, redshirted, and he has come back. He has returned strong with Kentucky, and he's now the second pick in the draft. I think we got an indication that Bowie was definitely going to Portland when he came in here carrying a Portland Trailblazer jacket.
There was no doubt about that, Al. I think he'll fit in very well for Jack Ramsey. Jack likes to use the center as a disher offer, likes to use him as a blocker, a postman. I think he'll work very well.
And after last season, I don't think there was any question that Sam Bowie has fully recovered from the stress fractures after the 2-year layoff. He has exceptional quickness for a big man, as you see how he runs the court extremely well, could get inside at 7'1" and block the shots. An outstanding high post passer. He passed up the Olympics. Remember, he was a member of the 1980 Olympic squad.
He has great flexibility. He can play inside, outside, runs the court well. I think he's going to make a great pro.
And Lou, what do you say for a young player who sat out 2 formative years and has come back to regain it?
Well, I think it shows the type of perseverance he has, that he was able to withstand all that misery and come back and perform, and look where he's now.
Portland Trailblazers have selected Sam Bowie.
Okay, Al Albert and the rest of our viewers across the country and the folks here at Felt Forum, get a good look at this very handsome young man, Sam Bowie, from the Portland Trailblazers, the #1 pick of Portland. And Sam, courage has been your middle name. You've had to really fight back from some adversity, and I know a lot of folks, particularly yourself, are happy to see this day arrive.
Right, I had a 2-year layoff with my leg injury, but if I wouldn't have had the support from the community of Lexington as well as the state of Kentucky, I don't think I'd have been able to do it without their help. I'd like to take this time to thank my mother for sticking behind me, and she knows how much I love her. And right now, I'd just like to say, Mom, I made it.
Sam Bowie, #1 pick. Now, Sam, you know a little bit about what the Portland Trailblazers are made of. You know that that's an extraordinary organization. You've had a chance to meet with those people and talk with them. They tell me that they put you through an extensive physical before they made a decision on you, and the end result was a good one.
Well, I went up to Portland. They gave me about a 7-hour physical. They didn't let anything out, so I don't know if that's referring back to the Bill Walton situation. I know he had a stretch fracture, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm 100% sound.
Did you talk to Dr. Jack about the plans, where they would play you up there?
Well, I think they're planning on maybe moving Michael Thompson to forward and putting me in the middle. So I'm looking very forward to joining that organization.
You got an outstanding group of players up there, and they're just about a little bit shy of where they want to be, and you might be the missing link. What about Jack Ramsey's setup game? How do you feel you'll fit there?
Well, everyone knows that Dr. Ramsey is a profession in each and every way of the word. He's a great coach, and he's a type of guy that can take an individual and teach him what he needs to know. So I'm looking forward to working with Coach Ramsey and the staff.
And lots of help from your friends and your teammates and your coaching staff down at Kentucky. Joe B. Hall did an outstanding job of preparing you for this occasion.
Right. Coach Hall and his staff has done a wonderful job. They stuck behind me when I was down and out for the 2-year layoff, and I'd like to take this time to thank them. Thanks a lot, Coach Hall.
All right, there he is. Sam Bowie, #1 pick of Portland, #2 man in the draft. Let's go to Steve Jones. Steve?
#2 pick, certainly.
All right, Al Albert back at the desk with Lou Carnesecca. Now for Portland, they will have a very active 2 rounds. They will also pick 19th in the first round and have 3 picks in the second. That pick for Bowie came, by the way, in return for Tom Owens, who was sent to the Indiana Pacers several years ago. So big dividends for Portland here today. As you see, Chicago Bulls, the team that's ready to go next, and Michael Jordan seems to be the next one up.
Everybody's excited about that one. He really captures the imagination.
You know, there was a question a little earlier, perhaps, Portland toying with the idea of the great can't-miss talent of Michael Jordan against Sam Bowie, who of course, coming off the injury, he says he is sound. Portland has checked him out through a 7-hour extensive test. But the question is, Bowie going now over the course of an 82-game schedule.
It is a calculated risk, but they felt that after the examination, he would fill their needs. And plus, they do need a big man. I mean, Thompson's been playing out of position, and he did a great job there. Now give him the opportunity to express himself facing the hoop.
So you take a look at Portland up front now with Sam Bowie in the middle, Michael Thompson at 1 forward, and Kiki Vandeweghe is now at the other forward with Paxson in the backcourt if he is re-signed as a free agent, and we figure that he should be, with Darnell Valentine, the guard at the other slot. And now we are ready for the 3rd pick, and the Chicago Bulls, who have been drafting very high down through the years, and they have the 3rd pick today.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina. The next pick goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
So Michael Jordan, who right now is in Bloomington getting ready for the upcoming Olympics, and this man is a can't miss at whether a guard spot or the forward at 6'6", 195 pounds, comes out after his junior season from North Carolina.
And you know, he makes them when they count. He can do it in traffic. He can do it under tremendous control. He's a great creator. In the mold of a Dr. J. Not as big, but is in that class, and I think he's going to make a great pro. He's what you call the people's player. People love to see this young man perform, and he's going to help my boy Kevin Locker an awful lot out there.
And there is no question that Michael Jordan will step right in. He is star material, a great shooter, superb athletic ability. There are many teams who are trying to pry away that 3rd pick and Michael Jordan from Chicago, but Jordan now joins Watley, Wiggins, and Daly in Chicago. And we will return to the Felt Forum for the 4th pick. The Dallas Mavericks are up next in the 1984 NBA. On the Jordan thing.
Just so we get it warmed up,
get the motor humming. No, commercial.
I need a card on either one.
You know, I'm finding we just don't have enough time in between these. I mean, getting into it. Especially the first picks you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Isaiah, what would you want your life to be? And I had to sit down and write it out on paper. What would I want my life to be? And this would be it. Wake up in the morning.
He's a Pivotal.
come home, eat.
Pivotal pick.
At night, got a game. Traveled to New York, San Diego, Philadelphia, and outside.
Welcome back to the Felt Forum. The first 3 picks have been made. Houston going with Hakeem Olajuwon, Portland with Sam Bowie, and Chicago selecting Michael Jordan. So those are 3 of the Super 6 we were talking about. The next 3 picks, not necessarily in order, will be Sam Perkins along with Mel Turpin and also Charles Barkley. But this is the pivotal pick. It is Dallas with the 4th one, and there's the question there of whether they will go with the big center they've been looking for in Mel Turpin, or go with the great all-around, again, can't miss, Sam Perkins of North Carolina.
Either way, you can't go wrong. It's just what your pleasures are. I think either one is going to make a great pro. And, you know, Turpin is more of the banger. Although he bangs, he can also go outside and hit the jumper. Now, as far as our boy Perkins, he's like a surgeon. He has the ability to knife you and cut you up pretty good. I think they're both great choices.
Well, Dallas' choice compliments of the Cleveland Cavaliers in return for Mike Bratz. The Dallas Mavericks have this 4th pick and will be getting at least a big man.
Dallas selects Sam Perkins of the University of North Carolina.
And the Mavericks go with the consensus. They have taken 6'9" Sam Perkins, who right now is with his teammate Michael Jordan in Bloomington.
A great pro. I think he can help you on the boards. He's a shot blocker, is able to work out of the pivot with his hook shot, can hit the jumper 15, 18 feet. I think he'll be able to play 2 positions for Dallas. He's going to give them more flexibility. And with the great players that they have, I think he's going to push their stock up awfully high.
Sam Perkins and the Dallas Mavericks certainly talking about utilizing Sam Perkins in the middle.
And against my club, too. In Madison Square Garden, they did it on Sunday.
A great shot blocker, a great defender that is often not talked about. 3-time All-American who is now ready to represent the United States and the Olympic team. At 6'9", over 230 pounds. He grew up right here in the shadows of Madison Square Garden in Brooklyn, and now he is a member of the Dallas Mavericks. He joins another Brooklyn boy and Rolando Blackman there. So it is Dallas who has another first round, the 15th pick, and 3 choices in the 2nd round, and they select Sam Perkins. And remember, next year they also have the Cleveland Cavalier first round pick. They will have 8 first round picks in the last 4 years.
That's the foundation. They're going to be a team of the future. And with Mata there, Mata's an excellent coach who does a great job with young people. He'll be able to mold them in the system that he wants. And they're going to be a great powerhouse, perhaps a dynasty of the future like the Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers.
And now there comes a question, what happens to the logjam up front for Dallas? Because there's Aguirre up front and Vincent and Pat Cummings, Bill Garnett, Kurt Nymphius, Dale Ellis. Well, that perhaps remains to be seen.
That's a nice problem.
All right, next up, the 76ers, the former champions, knocked out in the first round of the playoffs this year. They come back with a trifecta. They have 3 picks in the first round, number 5 here, then the 10th pick, and then the 22nd.
They're in an awfully good position. They can pick 3 pretty good ball players.
Philadelphia 76ers select Charles Barkley of Auburn University.
The round mound of rebound, tipping the scales, the latest at 300 pounds. He is one of the most exciting players to come out of college, and he now will be alongside Julius Erving and Moses Malone in the city of brotherly love.
Well, I think that's a good choice. And he can score, he'll excite the crowd, and they'll be able to bring him along slowly. Have Dr. J there and Jones. I think it's an excellent choice. They need a scorer. He can score, he can pass, and in their fast break situation, he'll fit in very, very well.
And he does it incredibly at that size. He is listed on the scouting sheet at 6'6" and 272. When he reported to the Olympic trials, Bobby Knight said he wanted him down to 215. Bobby Knight was asked if he ever had a player who was really heavy, and Knight said not for long.
Well, I would certainly like to open up a pizza concession in their vicinity, and I think it'd help me an awful lot.
Charles Barkley, undergraduate, leaving Auburn after his junior season, 21 years old. At 6'6", he was the Southeast Conference Player of the Year. That is over guys like Bowie and Turpin.
Oh, he's got great measure. He can jump, he can jam, He can get up and down the court. He's just a great player. Look at the move. Look at that control.
At his size, he really defies description.
Unbelievable.
As you take a look at Charles Barkley. Antoine Carr was at the trials. He said that Barkley has the finesse of Julius Erving, the power of Moses Malone, can handle the ball like any guard anywhere. Barkley says, though, he does have a weight problem. He says, I don't eat a lot, just all the time.
But I think in 110 games, he'll lose that weight.
Charles Barkley, the 5th pick, now a Philadelphia 76er.
And here he is, folks, the number 5 pick right here, Charles Barkley of the Philadelphia 76ers. And Charles, you get a chance to step into a team there with a pretty nice nucleus, I would say, with Moses and Julius and the rest of the gang, Andrew, Tony. Any ideas about how you're going to slide into that little team?
Well, they already have a great team, and hopefully they'll play me at the power forward position. And I hope I can learn from Moses and Dr. J and all the great players they already have.
Charles, a lot of talk about your performance at the Olympic tryouts, and many people disappointed. They thought that you should have made that team. Was the decision based primarily on the fact that they thought perhaps you didn't fit the scheme, the theme, the type of players that they had in the makeup that Bobby Knight had structured for the Olympic team?
No, sir. I thought it was my inability to play defense. I have a trouble playing defense because we played primarily zone at Auburn. And I think I have a long way to go before I'm up to the level of intensity that Coach Knight wanted. So it's just going to take a lot of hard work.
Opportunity there in Philadelphia. They've had Mark Ivoroni over there. He'll give you a battle, but I'm sure you're ready for that one.
Well, I'm just looking forward to going there and trying to learn. I feel like I can learn a lot from Mark Ivoroni. He's a great player.
What about the reputation of liking to sit down in front of a couple of pizzas and do a job? What about that?
Well, you know, I get a lot of talk about my weight, but I think that I can control my weight, and I feel like when I go to camp, I'll lose a lot of weight, and I'm just looking forward to the opportunity. I don't worry about what people say about my weight or anything.
They say you're very quick on your feet. You can get up and down that floor. And yet there have been some people that said you plan on losing a little weight. You're going to try and keep it about where it is, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I'm going to try to play around 260, 265. But first of all, I'd like to say something. I'd just like to thank God, most of all, for being in this position. And I'd like to thank my mother and grandmother, who I think are the 2 greatest ladies on earth. And I'd just like to say hello to my mother and grandmother, because they're great.
All right, Charles Barkley, we're going to be hearing a lot from him, playing at 265 for Philadelphia, next to Big Mo. Charles Barkley of Auburn, number 1 pick, Philadelphia. Steve Jones with a former NBA great and a former New York Knick. Steve?
Well, Earl Monroe, the original Magic Man, we've gone through the first 5 picks here, and they have been considered can't miss. Now, you were number 1 pick, and you know about the pressures. How about some of the pressure on the first 5 players? You think that it's a little bit too much for a player to walk in and think he's going to take over the situation like he's done in college?
Well, I think that really depends on the type of team that he's going to. A lot of teams, you know, draft a first-round draft choice that they can wait a couple years for him to develop, and then other teams draft a guy that they want to come in and take over immediately. I think that, you know, in the case of some of the guys that's gone in the first 5, I think most of those guys will come in and make a pretty good impact on the team that they're going to go to.
All right. Do you think that the game has changed dramatically from the point when you were drafted to today, to where it's a different game altogether, and they have a great deal of trouble projecting exactly how these players are going to play from college to pros?
Well, I think it's a little different in the sense that you have more guys with more ability now to play. Teams are playing 10 men instead of playing just 7 nowadays. And I think that in terms of the guys that are being drafted now, you know, they'll get into the game and play initially for maybe 10 minutes at a time, and then they'll move on as the season progresses.
All right, Earl, well, thank you very much. Let's go up to Commissioner David Stern.
The Washington Bullets select Melvin Turpin of the University of Kentucky. The next pick belongs to San Antonio.
Big Mel Turpin, 7-footer out of Kentucky, and this completes the Super 6, and it goes as many had anticipated. So for the Washington Bullets, they call for another order of beef as Mel Turpin joins Jeff Ruland and Rick Mahorn. And you think of it, Turpin at that size, 7 feet, about 240 pounds, is the smallest of the three.
I think they're going to have to enlarge the court. I think definitely NBA next year, instead of going 50 feet, we're going to go up to 75. The players are getting bigger and bigger, and the court has always remained constant.
The 6th pick goes to the Washington Bullets, Mel Turpin of the University of Kentucky, who is considered the ideal post-up center. He has excellent touch from the wings and the top of the key. He has the size. He can intimidate. With Kentucky, he only took about 8 shots per ball game. He is big. He is strong. He is very tough when he posts up. A very high pick.
But there again, he has great flexibility. He can play inside and come out and shoot 18, 20 feet. He's the type of player that'll be very, very good for Coach Shue down there, because he can use him inside and outside. He can come off a screen and shoot. He has great flexibility. He's going to be another great pro.
All SEC for 1983 and 1984. Melvin Turpin becomes the 6th pick in the 1st round. Now a member of the Washington Bullets.
And here he is, Mel Turpin, Washington Bullets #1 pick. And Mel, we're going to have to get you guys a bigger gym to play in. That's a big, big team.
Yes, it is. I'm looking forward to playing in Washington. He got a great coach. You know, Coach Shue is, I think I can learn a lot from him. And I was looking for a good career.
You know, one of the things that many people thought about Mel Turpin when he was in college is, why don't you shoot the ball more? Why didn't you take more shots? You averaged just under 9 shots a game. Is that something you're going to try and get Coach Shue to do for you in the pros?
Yeah, I do like to shoot some. I hope he'll work with me more to get my shot down a little more packed. But I mostly like to play behind the basket, do a lot of power moves.
You know, they have a great gentleman over there in Washington by the name of Wes Unseld, who made a tremendous mark in this league. And if there's anyone that can show you the ropes and how you want to refine your game so you become one of the best low-post centers, I'm sure he's the man to do it. Have you given that some thought?
A little. I heard a lot about him, and I've seen some of him, so I'm looking forward to that, getting up with him and stuff. But I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm glad that they finally, you know, they made a good choice, I think.
All right, now you had a chance to play in tandem with Sam Bowie, so you're used to playing with another big man. The transition then shouldn't be that difficult in going over to Washington and playing with a Ruland or a Mahorn.
No, I don't think it'll be that much different. You know, now I get a chance to play with some guys my own size and a lot taller, so I think that's going to help me out a lot to get my career started on its way.
All right, Mel Turpin, we want to wish you the best. We'll see you this year in the NBA. Right now, let's go to Commissioner David Stern and our next pick.
The San Antonio Spurs select Alvin Robertson of the University of Arkansas.
Well, with new coach Con Fitzsimmons making his first choice at San Antonio, there were 3 guards that they could consider: Alvin Robertson of Arkansas, Leon Wood, and Lancaster Gordon, and they have opted for Alvin Robertson, who is considered the top defensive guard coming out of college, and also he can score. He is certainly in the legacy of Arkansas, the Moncriefs and the Darrell Walkers, Ron Brewer also, who came in the backcourt. And now it is Alvin Robertson. They say he defends like Darrell Walker, but he is a better ball handler and a better shooter.
Well, I'll tell you, if you have your mouth open, you better be careful, because he'll steal your teeth. He has tremendous hands, very quick, aggressive, goes to the board real hard, and is going to improve his outside shooting. A great, great choice. And I think the San Antonio Spurs can use a player like that, because their guards are starting to get, they need guards in that position, especially defensively.
Alvin Robertson. And now the logjam in the backcourt with San Antonio, with George Gervin, Johnny Moore. Lucas is a free agent. Jared Paxson in his 2nd season. We'll be back at the Felt Forum for more of the NBA Draft.
That's what you could have pushed it up early. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm sorry.
Could have pushed that up early for one morning.
What's that?
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
And, you know, we're talking about, this is once in a lifetime. You still get your 2 practice in.
Right.
Now, who's San Diego?
Okay.
Wood?
Yeah.
Wood. Yeah. Go right to this.
One day you'll see me, my number you'll be screaming. One day you'll say I'm number one. Never stop, won't give up. I'll make it to the top now. One day you'll say I'm number one. I'm number one.
Welcome back to the Felt Forum in New York City. Al Albert with Lou Carnesecca, Eddie Doucette, and Steve Jones, as we have gone through 7 picks of the first round. Alvin Robertson, the 7th pick with San Antonio, and there, perhaps a collector's item, the Clippers logo with San Diego. The team has moved to Los Angeles, but that is now in the courts. The NBA taking the Clippers to task, and remains to be seen where they'll be playing. But wherever they'll be playing, Lou, they certainly do well in this draft, because now they have the 8th pick, and they will also have the 14th pick in the first round.
They have an excellent chance to help themselves. They could use some help. They had some problems this past year trying to stay in the ball game. They could either go for a guard or they go for a big power forward.
Well, of the stars that are remaining, guys who have the kind of can't-miss tag, you have Leon Wood, Lancaster Gordon, the 2 guards. The next forward who is scheduled to go would be Otis Thorpe, the power forward out of Providence. But right now, San Diego, on the sure shot, will perhaps go for the guard, and then maybe later on the 14th pick come back with a power forward.
They could go with someone to go along with Nixon.
All right, we check closely. This is the Clippers table, and they have to make their decision now, and it probably will come down between Leon Wood and Lancaster Gordon. Both players, I might add, now in Bloomington at the Olympic Workout Center. And we will now find out the 8th pick, and the Clippers looking for, we suspect, a guard to go along with Norm Nixon in the backcourt.
The Clippers select Lancaster Gordon from the University of Louisville.
Here's a young man that has a great, great future.
Belongs to Kansas City.
Well, it was projected that Gordon may go down to the 10th pick with the Philadelphia 76ers, but he is now the 8th pick in the draft. And they said that if he goes with a perfect team, meaning if he goes with a good point guard, as Lou, you were talking about getting with the right team, that it certainly would be both to the team and Gordon's advantage.
Because he can get up and down the court very quickly, has improved his outside shot, excellent defense, and his future is still ahead of him. He didn't take that many shots with Louisville. This is an excellent pro. Has a great body, long, lean, and has great competitive spirit.
And will be team with Norm Nixon now of the Clippers, whether San Diego or Los Angeles.
That little jumper, he hits right around the foul line.
Very unselfish player. Lancaster Gordon out of the University of Louisville is now a member of the Clippers. And Lancaster Gordon is one of 8 players who are in Bloomington right now. We have a hookup, and we'll be able to talk to the Olympians that are being drafted. But right now we understand they are in extensive workouts under the tutelage of Bobby Knight. And as soon as they complete that, they will join us here.
You know, Lancaster is excellent in the transition game. He's played that for 4 years at the University of Louisville. Also played in a half-court system where everything was structured. Excellent pro, has good feel for the game, and is a pressure play.
Well, Kansas City is up next, the 9th pick. The question now for Lancaster Gordon, where will he be going to find a home? Is it San Diego or Los Angeles? More on that. Let's go to Eddie Doucette.
All right, Al, I think that the San Diego Clippers have a very interesting situation in that with a Lancaster Gordon and a Norm Nixon, they have potentially a very, very fine young guard line. Now, the question is, what's going to happen with Bill Walton? As many of you know, they have not signed him. There's a lot of talk about what they're going to do with Bill Walton. If they make a trade, do they make a deal? A lot of talk about possibly moving Walton to the L.A. Lakers. If it is a cross-town move, that would be interesting. If it happens to be down the freeway, that would be something else. Then what do they do? Who do they move in the middle? Do they make a deal for another big man. A lot of things, a lot of balls up in the air, but right now they did what they had to do in getting that man that would play opposite Norm Nixon, take a little pressure off him, and that is Lancaster Gordon. Now, one thing that you might want to consider in factoring in this situation, a young fellow who emerged very rapidly toward the end of the season for San Diego was a former Louisville player himself, Derek Smith. That might make things a lot easier for both these people because they were teammates and they were friends, and there's a good chance that they might be able to help each other out. So a whole scenario developing in either San Diego or Los Angeles, yet to be named, and we will find out exactly how Lancaster Gordon does. I would like very much at some point to get Steve Jones's reaction on what he thinks the Clippers might do with Bill Walton. Bill Walton, of course, is a big story. He himself thinks that he's going to be moved. He has not made a commitment for this year. The Lakers, of course, have talked about having him as a backup man for Kareem in his last year coming up. So what are they going to do? They got to have that big man in the middle. Walton had as an injury-free year as he's going to have. The one injury he had this year was to his hand and not to his foot, which has been the major concern, and he really appears to be in very good shape. So the question in San Diego is, what about Bill Walton? And of course, now that they've got Lancaster Gordon, he's going to fit in very nicely, as we mentioned, with Norm Nixon. Now, we have on the line at our Olympic training site down in Bloomington, Indiana, Lancaster Gordon, the #1 pick. As Bobby Knight has just released his team, we'll have an opportunity to talk to some of these young men. Lancaster, here he is right here. Congratulations, you are now a member of the Clippers. How do you feel about that?
I'm very happy to be a member of the Clippers, and hopefully we can have a winning season and get into the playoffs.
Now, Lancaster, just to bring the folks up to date, in training sessions now at the Olympic team, you've been having some pretty grueling workouts under Bobby Knight, I'm sure, so readying yourself for the upcoming NBA season. That's a long schedule, but I'm sure by the time you're through at this training camp and the Olympics coming up, you'll feel pretty good about being able to handle a long season like that.
That's true. I think the Olympics has helped me a whole lot, and I'm sure that over the course of the 82-game schedule, I'll play real well.
Lancaster, did you have any preconceived ideas about which team might draft you and why?
Well, I had an indication, but I really didn't know. I will try to wait till the draft and see what happens, because anything can really happen the day of the draft and before.
Well, we're going to look forward to seeing you this coming NBA season. Good luck to you in the Olympics coming up, and congratulations on being chosen by the Clippers. Thank you, Lancaster.
Thank you very much.
And right now we're going back to the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern. David?
The Kansas City Kings select Otis Thorpe of the University of Providence. The next pick belongs to Philadelphia.
Otis Thorpe. They say he is at 6'9", 236 pounds, the mold of a power forward. His star really rising, coming out of Providence, where he was the leading rebounder of the Big East. That's ahead of Patrick Ewing. Another young player, Lou, who did not start playing basketball until his junior year in high school, but he had a great Hawaii series, and he has elevated himself all the way to the 9th pick in the first round.
Well, Joe Mullane did a great job with Otis, but he kept getting better every year. This year he became a factor. He was a tremendous jammer. If he gets the ball inside, he's going to score, because he's so wide, he's so strong. It's very difficult to defend him. Now, what he must learn now is to come outside and face the basket.
17 points a game, 58% from the floor. He shot 70% from the field in the games in Hawaii. Otis Thorpe, now a member of the Kansas City Kings.
Otis, congratulations. Kansas City bound. What do you think?
Well, I'm just happy to be chosen by this team, and I wasn't really expecting this. I was just waiting for the day to come, and the day has come, so I'm happy with the choice that's been made.
What were you expecting? Where did you think you might go?
I had no idea. Like, they were saying somewhere in the middle, but I wasn't sure about it. I was just waiting until the day came around, because, like Lancaster Gordon said, anything can happen on the day or the night before the draft happens.
Now, have you given some thought to the personnel that they have in Kansas City? Do you know much about the fellas down there?
Well, I don't know that much about it, just from what I've seen on television. I'm just going to try to go in there and contribute what I have and just give my best, you know, my 110% that I can give.
Now, what are you doing this summer in terms of keeping yourself in shape and getting ready?
Well, I'm just playing ball, running a couple miles a day, you know, just trying to stay fit and not lay back, you know, get out of shape. you know, just trying to stay in shape right now.
Every kid's dream. You can go back to the times when you're pounding the ball around the schoolyard and it's finally arrived. This has got to be an unbelievable moment for you.
Well, it's an exciting moment, you know. It's a day I've been waiting for ever since my sophomore year in college, and the day has arisen, you know. And so I'm just happy to be chosen at this time.
Well, congratulations. Number one, not bad. 1984 number one draft choice, the Commissioner David Stern. And our next selection.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Leon Wood of Cal State Fullerton. The next pick belongs to Atlanta.
Well, after Michael Jordan, there were some who felt that Leon Wood was the next top guard coming out, and he has slipped now to the 10th pick. Initially, San Diego was looking at Leon Wood, but chose Lancaster Gordon. But Leon Wood now joins Philadelphia, along with Charles Barkley, who was drafted number 5. Leon, what do you think of this combination of you and Charles Barkley going to Philadelphia?
Well, I think it's a nice combination. I've played with Charles, and I got to see him during the trials, and I think we can really help the Philadelphia 76ers.
There have been some comparisons of that of Isaiah Thomas and Leon Wood. What do you think of that?
Well, thanks for the compliment and everything, but I think I have a lot to learn as far as defense and offensively. But I think in time I'll be able to show what I can do.
Now you're in a backcourt with Maurice Cheeks and company. Your feelings?
I feel that I'm going to be able to learn a lot from, Maurice Cheeks. He's an all-star guard for the past 3 or 4 years, and I think, couldn't be anybody better for me to learn to play the point position than Maurice Cheeks. And it'd be great to play, alongside with Andrew Toney, too.
Leon, here is Coach Lou Carnesecca has a question for you.
Congratulations, and I'm very, very happy for you. Wish you a lot of luck in the Olympics. How do you think you're going to adjust to the NBA style of play?
Well, I think if after just anything, it'd probably be, the 82-game schedule and the traveling, from city to city and all, different times of the day. I think that'll probably be the most toughest adjustment for me.
I know you see the court very well, and players like to play with you because you're a great, great dispenser. I congratulate you and lots of luck in the Olympics.
Thank you very much.
Leon Wood, who is right now in Bloomington. And Leon, we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming Olympics, and we'll see you in Philadelphia come the fall. So Leon Wood, the 10th pick from the Philadelphia 76ers. In the history of that pick, the 76ers in their trade back in 1978, in which Bobby Jones came to Philadelphia in return for George McGinnis, the 76ers also get this first-round pick. So far, the Sixers have had the 5th pick. That was from San Diego in return for World B. Free. And this 10th pick from Denver in return for George McGinnis. And they now come up with Charles Barkley and Leon Wood.
And they still get one more in the 22nd. So they're really going to help themselves, and they've made excellent choices. Both players are the type that can play in the NBA.
And strategically, as far as public relations goes in the city of Philadelphia, after being knocked out in the first round and defending the title, they are coming up with this terrific draft. We are now ready for pick number 11, the Atlanta Hawks, who late last night completed a deal sending the veteran Dan Roundfield to Detroit for Cliff Levingston and
Kevin Willis of Michigan State.
And they are going
the next
big
pick belongs
with
to
Kevin Willis.
He's a big 7-footer who came on real strong, especially in the lower classic. This is the type of fellow that is going to really improve as he goes on, because he has great, great strength, has a nice touch. All he needs is the time. And with Atlanta, he's going to get the opportunity to play. And I think this is important.
From Michigan State, Kevin Willis becomes the 11th pick in the first round. He was beset by injuries throughout his senior year, but he came on strong. He had a terrific Aloha Classic, and it has moved him right here up to the upper echelon of the first round. He runs the court extremely well as any big man in the NBA, they say. And he is very aggressive. He can play both the center or a power forward position. And he becomes the 11th pick, and now is on the Atlanta Hawks. Kevin Willis out of Michigan State, the 7-footer, and he is now a happy man.
All right, here he is. He's a happy guy right now indeed, Al. He is right up there with the Atlanta Ball Club. Very bright, young coaching staff down there, and a good opportunity to step right in. I think you'd have to say that the turning point for you was a good performance at the Aloha Classic this spring in Hawaii. Other than that, it might have been a little lower down on the first round.
Yes, my high school coach stressed to me that I have to go out in Hawaii and play well and condition myself to play well. And when I get out there and just do the things that I need to do in order to play well and come out on top.
You had some injury problems as a senior at Michigan State. How are you feeling now?
Well, I hurt my ankle in the early part of the season, and I think now it's healed 100%, and I'm ready to go now.
7 feet, about 220. Do you figure you can pack about 20 more pounds on those bones?
Yes, I'll condition myself all summer, and I'll do the necessary things that I have to do to get 10 or 15 more pounds on me and prepare myself for the NBA.
You've got another 7+ footer down there in Tree Rollins. That's a tough tree to climb.
Yes, it is. I think I learned a lot from Tree Rollins. He's a very good ball player, I think, and in a matter of time and playing behind him, I think that I'll establish myself as being a good center too.
Did you get a chance to talk to your college coach, Judd Heathcote, about the possibilities of playing as a pro? And if so, what was some of the advice that he gave you coming in?
Just do the necessary things that pro scouts are looking for, and don't go in with the idea that you're the greatest one there. Just go at a level that you have to do things you have to do.
Now this summer you'll have an opportunity to slide over there to Lansing and maybe get together with Magic and share some of the secrets of the league. He's pretty open about those kind of things, isn't he?
Yes, he is. We talked a matter of times last summer about the draft and what I have to do to get in the first round and whatnot. And so when I leave here and go back home, I'm quite sure we'll talk again.
All right, now what do you work on now? You feel that there are certain qualities of your game that need strengthening at this point?
Yes, I can strengthen my defense, and I would say my shooting, but my ball handling and ability to get up and down the court is very good.
The physical play of the Big Ten, I'm sure that that's going to stand you in good stead for what you're ahead of in the NBA. You got an Olajuwon and some of these fellas that you'll be going up against. I'm sure that you're well aware of the fact that you're going to have to get tough.
Right. I enjoy playing physical ball game. That's a part of my game. I always did enjoy it because I think I'm essentially a strong player, and I like playing the physical game.
You know, I've seen the college game over the last few years take on so many of the nuances of the pro game, so many of the things that the pros do. I'm sure that on Sunday afternoons and on days when you fellas aren't playing, have an opportunity to follow the pros and try and emulate a lot of the things that they do.
Right. I watch a lot of the playoffs and the semi-games and whatnot, and I watch the teams, and especially the centers and the power forwards, and see what they have and see the things they do that might help me along the way.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed in going over to Hawaii and watching the youngsters who are getting themselves ready for the pros the last few years is the fact that some of the people start slowly and then they build and develop toward the end of the week. It becomes a question of getting some confidence and realizing that you can play with this level of talent. Did you have that feeling over the week, or were you feeling pretty good about your chances on the way in?
Well, I felt pretty good about my chances because of my games down in Hawaii. I had played very well. Then I went down to Chicago and played very well, and that boosted my value up a little bit. So I figured that I come in here feeling with the attitude that I'll be all right.
Heard a lot of good words about you. Best of luck. This is the number 11 pick in the first round. He's going to Atlanta, and Mike Fratello. One thing for sure, your boss won't have to look down on you. He's a little guy, and he's a good one to work with.
Exactly right. Thank you.
All right. Here he is, Kevin Willis, Michigan State. Let's go back to Commissioner David Stern.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Tim McCormick of the University of Michigan. The next pick belongs to Phoenix.
Well, another rising star, Tim McCormick, who leaves Michigan after his junior season, helped lead Michigan to the NIT championship. He was the most valuable player, and now he, too, is in Bloomington with the Olympic team.
Well, there's no doubt that playing in the Olympics is going to really help him. He really came on very, very strong. And Now, he didn't take that many shots with this club, but he made the most of it. An excellent player whose future lies ahead of him. He'll be able to do a good job. And especially with Cleveland, with that young front line, I think he'll fit in very, very well.
Well, Cleveland wanted to get somebody big in there, along with Roy Hinson, to perhaps spell him or move him to the power forward spot. And it is Tim McCormick, the pick of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Most felt it would be Kenny Fields, but they go high with Tim McCormick in the 12th pick of the first round.
Tim, welcome to the NBA. This is Eddie Doucette in New York, and we're talking to you live from Bloomington, as most of our viewers can see. Congratulations to you. You're Cleveland bound. I don't know how you feel about this, but many people thought that you might be a project. You feel a little bit stronger about your abilities than that. You think you're ready to step in and make a contribution right now?
I feel that I am. I think, first of all, I've really learned a lot this week working with Coach Knight, and I've had a lot of confidence in myself throughout my career. And I think that I'm just now showing people what I can do, and hopefully when I get to Cleveland, they'll have some confidence in me, let me grow within the program, and I feel that I'll be able to make an immediate contribution if I continue working hard.
58% shooter last season, yet they say you didn't get a chance to take that many shots. You going to try and change that as a pro?
I'm not going to try to change my game. I'm going to go in and work hard at whatever the coach wants. At Michigan, we played with a lot of talented players and a very structured offense, and our offense didn't really call for me to shoot as much as I would have liked, but I felt that I had a successful career in Michigan. I improved a great deal as a player, and I'm going to just go in and work hard and do whatever the coaches want.
Hey everybody, I'm Summer Sanders, and this is the Finals Buzz. As the series moved from Tinseltown to Motown, the spotlight shifted to a new cast of celebrities. Detroit may not have Jack Nicholson, but there's no shortage of star power. Among those on hand were Eminem, Anita Baker, Kid Rock, Vince Neil, Tommy Hearns, and Renee Zellweger, who's rumored to be dating Detroit native Jack White, the frontman for the White Stripes. The frontman for the Pistons is point guard Chauncey Billups. And if anyone doubted he's arrived as a star, Chauncey is now featured on a new line of T-shirts, along with the title, Mr. Big Shot. That follows the Ben Wallace T-shirts, which weren't about big shots, but big hair, with Ben's slogan, Fear the Fro. And Pistons fans didn't exactly give the Lakers a warm welcome. They gathered outside the team's hotel and made quite a racket to keep the Lakers up at night. And if that wasn't enough to disrupt their sleep, chances are the Lakers were having nightmares about the Pistons' defense. I'm Summer Sanders, and that's the Final Buzz.
12 picks completed, as Scotty Sterling had pointed out. The draft pretty well going according to form. As we get on now to the 13th pick, and the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns making their only pick in the first round. They'll have one in the second. And, well, Phoenix with up front the likes of Lucas and Nance and Alvin Adams and Edwards and Roby, and the feeling that they will go for a guard. Let's find out.
I think they'd like to get a player like Dennis Johnson to replace him when he left. If they get a player in that mold, they would love that.
Well, the name has been Jay Humphries of Colorado. Let's find out if that is the pick. We go to the commissioner, David Stern.
The Phoenix Suns select Jay Humphries of Colorado University.
Well, they definitely went for a guard.
The next pick belongs to the Clippers.
So the Phoenix Suns have selected Jay Humphries. Good ball handler, fine defense, and they feel could even step in right next to Walter Davis in the backcourt.
He was an excellent player this year for Colorado, did a tremendous job. Really can move very quickly, good defense, has to work on his outside shot, but got great body control, as you can see.
Well, here at the Feld Forum, after the announcement was made of Jay Humphries, a lot of the fans here yelling out who, and after they saw the first few shots, the oohs and ahs, and they may find out very quickly. He is terrific without the ball. He is compared to Norm Nixon, but without the sure outside shot of a Norm Nixon. Jay Humphries of the University of Colorado, the 13th pick in the first round, now belongs to the Phoenix Suns. And we'll be back with more of the 1984 NBA College Draft after these messages from your local cable systems. Welcome back to the Feld Forum in New York City for the 1984 NBA College Draft. We are midway in the first round. 13 picks have been made. The 14th belongs to San Diego. But first, let's go back to earlier today when the Chicago Bulls, having the 3rd pick in the draft, and went with sensational Michael Jordan of North Carolina. Jordan, who led North Carolina, now looking to step in to lead the Bulls into the promised land. And he also is leading the United States Olympic team. And he is out at Bloomington now, and Eddie Doucette will be talking with him.
All right, Michael Jordan, this is Eddie Doucette, New York. How you feeling?
Just fine. How you doing?
Real good. College Player of the Year amongst so many other honors. Picked 3rd in the NBA draft by the Chicago Bulls. You'll be getting a chance to see close up Enos Watley and Wiggins and the rest of those fellas. How do you think you'll fit there?
Well, hopefully I fit pretty well. I'm looking forward to it. I played with Enos when I came out of high school, so I'm looking forward to playing with him again.
All right, now at 6'6", 195 pounds, actually you could play 2 positions. Which would you prefer?
Well, it doesn't matter really. Whatever can contribute to the team. If I have to play small forward, if I have to play guard, whatever whatever the team needs.
Some of the people who know this game best say that perhaps you're going to be a beautiful big guard. How do you feel about that?
Well, hopefully that could become true. I'm not looking forward to going in and trying to live up to everyone else's expectations. I just want to go in and contribute the best way I could, and just look forward to whatever the coaches want.
Do you know anything about Kevin Lockree's style of coaching and what he expects from his players?
Not really. I'm looking forward to meeting Coach Lockree and looking forward to his coaching ability.
Well, Michael, you've got a great opportunity to step in there and win a city that is crying for a winner. That is a fabulous sports town in Chicago. And with a little help from a fellow named Michael Jordan, perhaps you can turn that Bulls thing around. What do you think?
Hopefully, I can go in and contribute and maybe turn it around. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Michael, we want to wish you the best. I know that Olympic team is shaping up, and I can't wait to see you next year in the NBA.
Thank you very much.
All right, Michael Jordan. Let's go back to the commissioner of this great league, David Stern.
The Clippers select Michael Cage of San Diego State.
14th pick. And here is somewhat of a surprise. Michael Cage of San Diego State, the Player of the Year in the WAC. And the surprise is that San Diego, we felt, may go with a small forward, but now they go with the big man, Cage, at 6'9", 228 pounds.
They really helped themselves. They picked up a guard, not a nice power forward, who's a great rebounder inside, has a nice touch. And you never have enough of big fellas because you need them when you play 82, 84 games a year. And he's very tough inside. And he seems to be a very dedicated player who's made improvements every year.
Out of Memphis, Tennessee, played high school ball on the same team with Keith Lee. And he's the only player ranked in the nation's top 10 in scoring and rebounding.
San Diego had a good chance to see him play an awful lot. So they made an educated choice.
Michael Cage, selected by the Clippers.
Al, I think it's important to make note of just a thought or two here regarding Michael Cage. Here's a young man that did not get a lot of press because he was playing in a program that a lot of people didn't hear about. On the West Coast, it's a bit of a different story. But here in New York, I think the fans should become aware of this man, Michael Cage. He's 6'9", he's 220, all the things that you mentioned. He can do a lot of things. Atop that, he is a great individual, and he's the kind of player that coaches love to have. I think that was a good selection for the Clippers. I think they know him. They've watched him year in and year out. I think he's an outstanding leader. He's had to do a lot of things and shoulder a team that has had their problems over the last couple of years, and I think in the right situation he could be great. Question is now, what about Terry Cummings? And this is something that a lot of people are going to start thinking about. Does that mean that the Clippers have opened themselves up for a trade? Does Terry Cummings go someplace else? Similar style of players, both big forwards. Cummings a good one. He could bring something very good in return. I think that's something that we should keep in the back of our mind, because I believe that the Clippers are going to take some time and try and develop a Michael Cage. All right, now let's go down to Bloomington again, the site of the Olympic training camp, and of course that would be Bobby Knight's contingent down there. And we're going to have an opportunity to visit with Sam Perkins, who was also drafted up at the top of the first round. And Sam, if you can hear me down there in Bloomington, this is Eddie Doucette at New York. Network. You have been picked by Dallas. I would have to say, Sam, you got good reason to smile because you're going to one of the very best organizations in all of professional sports. They've done everything right. You're stepping into a system where almost all the pieces are in place, and you could be that last piece. Actually, you could be the guy that they've been waiting for the last couple of years. How do you feel, and what do you know about the Dallas organization?
Well, I feel very fortunate about the pick. I talked to Dick Motta a little bit, and he told me the things I can do for him, but I don't know if I'm that missing link down there, but I'm happy with the choice that, that Dallas selected me, and I'll just have to go down there and just start all over in a new program where they have a nice program down there.
6'9", 234. Let's give those numbers again. Last year you averaged 17.5 points a game, but you shoot it close to 60% from the floor. You'll be playing amongst all that tall timber. It gets pretty hectic down there at 6'9". Would you prefer to play out on the wing, or are you going to try and cast your lot in with the big man in the land of the Giants?
Well, I think either position will do. I think I'm capable of playing center and forward, but it all depends what Dick Motta wants, and especially the old coaching staff, and plus where I can contribute the most. But I'll be probably playing a little forward and center, and I think the spot I'm more weakest at is probably be center because of the bulk, and like you said, there's a lot of tall timber down there and a lot of beef, so I'm just going to have to do a little work when I get down there.
Bring your chainsaw. You may have to knock a few of those fellas down, but keep in mind one thing. If you go back over history with Coach Dick Motta, he has always had the ability to make heroes out of his big man. He can take that big forward, or he can take that center and find ways to get him shots. He's a master at doing that. I'm sure you're well aware.
Yes, I do, and I followed him, followed the pros a lot, and he's one of the coaches that can change a lot of things around, especially with young talent.
Well, you have a good little medium-range jumper. You got that ability to get inside and bang the boards, and I think you're going to be thrilled with what you find yourself in the middle of down in Dallas, Texas. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And save me one of those big, tall hats, will you? Sam Perkins, #1 pick of the Dallas Mavericks. Let's go back to the commissioner, David Stern.
The Dallas Mavericks select Terrence Stansbury of Temple University.
I can talk
the next
about
pick belongs to Utah.
I can talk about this fella. I can still remember it down. And I remember him taking the last shot that beat me in the opening round of the NCAA. This young man reminds me like a Dave Bing. Gets up and down the court, can drive, can hit the jumper, and sees the open man. I think he's an excellent choice. I would love to have a player like Stansbury play. Can see the whole court. Excellent.
A good size, 6'4.5", 175 pounds. The player of the year in Atlantic 10 out of Temple University. He can play both a guard and a small forward. A terrific athlete who is more of a scorer than a shooter, but he certainly knows how to shoot the outside shot. So in Dallas, you have now a three-point threat. Shot about 40% in three-pointers, hitting 49 of 123 from the downtown area last year. Let's go to Eddie DeSette and Steve Jones.
All right, Steve, we have an interesting pick here by the Dallas Ball Club. What do you think of this one, Terrence Stansbury?
Well, it looks like it's going to be a good backup for Rolando Blackman. I mean, Blackman's been a scoring machine for them, and when he's gone out of the ball game, there's been a dramatic drop-off, and suddenly you get Stansbury, who can stick it from the outside just as well. It's a good selection, and again, Dallas has done an excellent job in the first round.
They have done their homework. They have really built themselves a very, very nice situation. Are they putting pressure on themselves now, Steve, or do you still think that they might be a couple of years away?
Well, they can't say they're putting pressure on themselves. They made the playoffs, so they're here now. They've got to play, and they've got to continue to build. They've got to go forward. So I think they're in an excellent position. They've done it through the draft. That has been their #1 motto. We're going to build our team through the draft. They've got fine young talent down there. Now they got to mold it into that championship caliber.
But bragging rights, you got to look a little bit away, and you see what Houston's putting together. You know that front line is not going to take a back seat with Olajuwon and, of course, the big man Sampson, and I like Rodney McRae.
Well, you know, Houston perhaps perhaps will be the team to beat, but hey, that's what competition is all about, and you want to try to get the players that you think are best for your philosophy. Dallas has been very good at doing that through the draft. Last year they got Dale Ellis, and I think that they think that Ellis is going to come along and be a fine backup for him. So they're in a position where they're going to challenge a lot of teams, and you saw them. They played the Lakers, and even though they didn't have all of it then, they're thinking about getting it now.
All right, so we've covered covered Dallas and we've covered Houston. We haven't talked about San Antonio. They're quietly sitting back there trying to reassemble, and they picked a young man, the 6th pick today, Alvin Robertson. What do you think?
Well, they were looking for some defense. You know, they've got a lot of offensive players down there. Iceman, George Gervin, Ron Brewer to come behind him. John Paxson actually is a offensive player in Johnny Moore, so they're looking for somebody that can guard somebody down there, perhaps pick someone up. They like to play a transition game, so they want to tighten up their defense as well.
I said 6th. I meant 7th pick. Washington got the 6th pick, but we do have Alvin Robertson with us today. He is in Bloomington at the Olympic training site. Let's go down there and talk to the young fellow that's just been picked by the San Antonio Spurs. Alvin, Eddie Doucette, Steve Jones, we're in New York. We would like to find out a little bit about your feelings now, having been picked to the 7th selection in the 1st round.
Well, I'm very happy to be a member of San Antonio Spurs Ball Club. Hopefully I can go down there and fit in some way and contribute to the team.
Fortunately for Alvin, this is Steve Jones. You've had a chance to play a lot of man-to-man defense. Is that going to be one of the things that you're going to try to bring out, the fact that you're going to challenge somebody and make it difficult for them to score?
Well, you always try to play to your strength, and a lot of people say that my strength is defense, and hopefully I can go out and play the aggressive man-to-man defense and be successful in the NBA.
Well, we hear a lot of comparisons. Sidney Moncrief is the first name mentioned, Darrell Walker the second, and both those fellas having preceded you at Arkansas, both of them in the NBA, both of them #1 picks. Pretty good guys to pattern your game after, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I'm very happy that I played and understudied those two guys, and hopefully I can be as successful as the both of them.
Well, you're a lucky man having had a chance to work with those two fellas in your years down at Arkansas. Right now, we'd like to congratulate you again, and we're going to send it back to the commissioner, David Stern. David?
Thank you.
The Utah Jazz select John Stockton of Gonzaga University. The next pick belongs to New Jersey.
Utah Jazz with Darren Durant still available. The local product out of BYU instead goes for an outstanding guard out of Gonzaga, John Stockton. Not many know about John Stockton, but his star rising. He was considered one of the top guards when it was all said and done. Small guards coming out, ranked 5th behind Wood, Robertson, Humphreys, and Danny Young, who has not been picked yet.
He played very well in the Olympic trials. I think his stock really went up. But speaking of Frank Layden, Frank thinks that this young man is the perfect point guard. Is unselfish, hits the player in the right place at the right time. There's no doubt, and he can score. Has a good 18, 20-foot jump shot. An excellent pick if you want a fella who's going to keep everybody happy.
And Utah also looking for a man who could come off the bench and spell Ricky Green at that point guard spot. And they say this is the one. He averaged 21 points a game. You saw just under 7 assists per ball game. And he certainly made an impression at the Olympic trials. He had made the final 20, but was released on May 13th when the club was reduced to 16. He understands the game. He can control the tempo. And now he moves into a blossoming franchise, the Utah Jazz.
Excellent choice.
John Stockton, a surprise here at the Feld Forum, because his name certainly not on the lips of the fans here in New York. But he becomes the 16th pick. And what about the possibility now with Devin Durant, one of the leading scorers in the nation out of BYU. He was there for the Jazz for the taking, but they passed up on him, the local product, a local hero.
Well, they probably were looking for a point guard because they do have scorers, and Durant is a great scorer. There's no doubt about that. He comes off, hits that jumper, can get an awful lot of points. In my opinion, I think Durant would make an excellent 6-man.
How much pressure do you feel Frank Layden was under to draft Durant?
Well, the pressure's always, no matter what you do, when you get up in the morning, there's pressure to stay alive. And I'm not trying to be facetious, but sometimes you have to have a gut feeling. You have to go what you think is best for your club, and you live and die with those decisions.
Well, Utah is now certainly at a situation where they are continuing to form a team that this year finished first place in the Midwest Division. Now, if this were the Utah Jazz of several years ago, where perhaps they were looking for PR value, where perhaps they had more spots to be taken, they could have gone with a Devin Durant.
Well, you know, when you draft, the player better play. That's the important thing. If the guy comes in and contributes, you have no problem. If the guy comes and sits and doesn't play, then there's a problem.
All right, so the Utah Jazz on the first pick, 16th choice, go with John Stockton. Now, this is the history of the Utah Jazz. Last year, of course, the 7th pick, they went with Thurl Bailey. The year before, they had the 3rd pick in the draft, Dominique Wilkins, but sent them to Atlanta, and that was a pick that really helped strengthen the Jazz franchise because they received loads and loads of money in return for Dominique Wilkins and allowing them to pursue their course. Danny Shays, the 13th pick, eventually went to Denver for Rich Kelly. Darrell Griffith, John Durham from Georgetown is no longer playing, and the Knight is out of the league from Loyola. So that's the draft history of the Utah Jazz. They have certainly been this season the surprise of the NBA, finishing first place in their division.
I would have to agree with you. You know, when you only have the first and the third, you have to make sure you get the proper player. But Frank has done a tremendous job building that franchise up. He made the playoffs. They're an exciting ball club. He does have scorers. What he needs now is somebody to keep him all happy.
Well, they have Dantley and Bailey up front with John Drew coming off. And also, of course, Mark Eaton developing in the middle. In the backcourt with Ricky Green and Darrell Griffith. They had Jerry Eves coming off the bench, but for the most part, they were forced to use Adrian Dantley at a guard spot at times. But now they have John Stockton, and Frank Layden certainly sticking his neck out because John Stockton really not a household name, but he is selected 16th. The New Jersey Nets are up 7th, and this is the most suspense we have had. They are getting down within the last minute to make their pick. The needs a power forward to come off the bench behind a Buck Williams or perhaps a shooting guard. The name of Ben Coleman, who is also out of Maryland, the shades of Buck Williams, has been thrown around. Also Jeff Turner, who is at the Olympic team and has not been picked. He is considered very high among the big forwards, but the pick has been made. David Stern now has it, and the crowd here in New York, this is the only first-round draft pick of a New York, New Jersey team.
The New Jersey Nets select Jeff Turner of Vanderbilt University. The next pick belongs to Indiana.
Well, not a popular choice here, only that Ben Coleman has been pushed here in the New York press, but it is Jeff Turner, who right now is in Bloomington, the final 16 of the Olympic team.
Let me tell you, Jeff Turner is a good ball player who's averaged close to 19, 20 points. He's a very, very disciplined ball player. As you can tell, he's playing with Bobby Knight right now. I think he's an excellent choice. He can get up and down the court. He's going to be an excellent defensive player, understands the game well, and more important, he can stick it.
All SEC in 1984, just under 17 points, 7 rebounds a game. Crowd reacting. This is the only choice in the first 2 rounds for a New York or New Jersey team. Jeff Turner in Bloomington. Let's throw it to Eddie Doucette.
Jeff Turner of the New Jersey Nets picked it in the first round here, and Jeff, a lot of people in New York are kind of wondering, what about Jeff Turner? They've not heard a lot about you, yet you're down there in Bloomington, you're with the Olympic team. The people that have played with you and against you have the utmost of respect for you, and evidently you're going to have to come up to New York and prove something to these folks. 6'9 3/4", 234 pounds. Are you up to the challenge?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy to be a part of the New Jersey organization, and it's quite an honor.
You know, they had you penciled as their guy that they were looking for all the while, and yet it seems to be a little bit of a surprise to some of the New Yorkers who are perhaps some of the more educated basketball fans in the world. And I don't know, maybe you're a little confused about all of this, but yet your numbers stand for yourself. You've done an outstanding job down there at the Vanderbilt University program, 53% shooting and about 17 points a game. And I know that your coaches with the Olympic team are happy with what you're doing.
Well, I think the trials have helped me out a lot. I've got a lot of exposure that I didn't get while I was at Vanderbilt, and you know, I hope that I can go up and do a good job up in New Jersey and earn the respect of the fans up there.
Excellent shooter, good range, good job on the boards this past season. Cut down on your fouls, and you run very well. Does that pretty well assess what your senior year was all about?
I think so. I think I don't.
Hear you. Are you taking it next?
I think I don't do a lot of things well, but I do everything fairly well, so I think that helps me out.
The competition that you've got and you're going against every day down in Bloomington has got to make you feel that you're ready to handle the next step, the NBA.
I think so. I'm playing against a lot of great players right now, and I feel like I'm improving every day, which is what you got to do to become, be a better basketball player.
They say you're a fast and great student, so good luck to you in New Jersey. I think you're going to enjoy it in the NBA. Jeff Turner, New Jersey's #1 pick. Let's go back to the commissioner.
Indiana selects Vern Fleming of the University of Georgia. The next pick belongs to Portland.
And the cheer here, Vern Fleming out of Astoria, New York, at 6'5" and 190, will now be heading to Indianapolis.
Well, two things, Al. Number one, Indiana can use guard. As you know, they had difficulty last year in that position. And here's a fellow that I recruited in high school, who's made tremendous progress at the University of Georgia. I can remember him last year in the regionals up at Syracuse. He really dug a dagger into my heart. He's a great player, the kind of kid that is going to get better and better. He's very quick, can pass, has great ability to steal the basketball. An excellent professional prospect.
Vern Fleming from the University of Georgia, where he passed Dominique Wilkins as the leading scorer in Georgia history.
Vern, congratulations. I'm delighted that you've been picked, and you're going to play with a great club. It's also congratulations on making the Olympic team. That's such a great feat.
Thank you, Coach.
Listen, how do you like it out there? How you doing?
I think I'm doing pretty well. We're practicing hard and learning a lot from Coach Knight.
And listen, Vern, if you can play for Coach Knight, you're going to play anywhere in the world, because he really tests you. And don't forget to learn everything you can from him. And give my man Mullins my best regards.
Okay, Coach.
Oh, Vern.
Vern Fleming. Vern, right here at the Feld Forum, a large gathering of New York fans, and very happy about your pick. I wonder if you have anything to say to the fans of New York.
Thank them for cheering for me. I'm looking forward to playing for the Pacers, and hopefully can help them out next year.
What do you see as your role stepping in with an Indiana team? Coach Carnesecca and I have been talking about the fact that for many players it happens to be the team they go to. Now you go to Indiana, and there are certainly spots open in the backcourt.
Yes, I really don't know. I'm just looking forward to playing and hopefully do well.
Vern, you're going to be playing with another New Yorker, George Johnson, who played at St. John's. And I think you're going with a very fine club. Irvine and Donnie Walsh are excellent coaches. And don't forget, that club has an excellent front line with Kellogg, Williams, and Stamkanovic and Johnson. They need help in the backcourt, and they're looking for you to give it. So lots of luck.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Vern, you're considered the second best defensive guard behind Alvin Robertson, who went earlier in the draft. Do you pride yourself on the defensive play along with what you can provide offensively?
Yes, I like to play defense. I like to take the chance of guarding a great offensive player, so I play hard on defensive end.
Vern Fleming, who is now a member of the Indiana Pacers. Vern, thanks for joining us, and good luck in the Olympics.
Okay, thank you too.
Up to the podium, 19th pick belongs to Portland. On the second pick, they receive Sam Bowie.
Selects Bernard Thompson of Fresno State. The next pick belongs to Detroit.
Well, there were thoughts that the Portland Trailblazers would be going with the guard, but now 6'6.5" Bernard Thompson, who is basically a forward, a very good defensive player out of Fresno State, a teammate there of Ron Anderson.
He can score too. Don't forget, they were called the bookends, and he has great flexibility. The reason they like him, because he can swing. He might be able to play big guard and small forward, and I think this is the reason why Portland picked him. They did lose Nat. And I think that along with Kiki, I'll make an excellent front forward line. He's flexible, he can score, he's quick, can drive. Excellent choice. I think Portland has helped themselves tremendously in this draft.
And Bernard Thompson had helped himself tremendously in Hawaii with an outstanding series. Plays extremely hard. Bernard Thompson is the pick of the Portland Trailblazers. Now let's go to Steve Jones.
No, we just got through listening to the New Jersey Nets pick, and they picked Jeff Turner. With me is Trent Tucker. He was selected a couple of years ago by the New York Knicks. An unpopular choice by the fans. Your thoughts about the fans' reaction when you came down and you were the #1 pick of the New York Knicks?
I would say it was a warm welcome to New York. You know, my first time ever being in New York. It was something different. It was they was chanting for Clark Kellogg. They wanted Clark Kellogg, and I knew I was in for a long afternoon then.
You know, did that make you feel as though you had a lot more to prove? Now, Turner was lucky because he was in Bloomington and he couldn't hear the people react.
Yeah, I knew I had a lot to prove. I had to prove to the fans that I was a player, and I had to also prove to my coach, Hubie Brown, I was a player.
Well, I know that you've come a long ways in a couple of years. The best of luck to you. And I know that, you know, being booed is not the best welcome, so we won't tell Jeff Turner. Let's go back to Al Albert.
Let's go, James. Come on, Rook. Let's go, man. Let's go, man. One, two, three, let's.